My name is Fukami. I work for a web application security company in Cologne called Sektion 1. And I started to look at Flash like 1.5 years ago when I had to order some Flash for a client and didn't know how to do that. And it turned out to be like a very interesting topic. This is Bev. He's author of Earthproof, which is a very, very cool Erlang-based Flash decompiler, and it does lots of more fancy stuff, but he will explain later. And in case you have some trouble compiling it on Windows, he even didn't get it, so you have to complain at him. So, what's our agenda? We got some malware samples so that we could do some statistics on how good is that tool for, especially to generically detect attacks or like malware stuff. Then we will talk a bit about the file format itself and ActionScript, the ActionScript bytecode stuff. Then we will also talk about some analysis methods. It's basically about static analysis of Flash files, some obfuscation techniques, some which are well known and some which are not that well known. And yeah, we have a couple of ideas we also want to share with you. So I just want to start with some shout outs because Flash is a quite like prominent technology since like 80% or more browsers in the world carry that plugin, and there are not that much people doing work on it. So shout out to Nicholas Canas. He's a guy who actually is the author of Hex. It's mine. Nicht jetzt, okay? Hex is a wonderful compiler for like compiling all types of Flash, like in all versions, and even you're even able to do stuff you are not able to do with Adobe stuff. Then Mark Dowd, he wrote this wonderful paper about Flash, like attacking the ActionScript 3 VM. Really, you have to read that one. Then thank you, Ben. I hope he's here. I think he's here. He just pointed me or pointed us at some thing we already developed, but didn't really recognize what we'd done. So it was very, very cool, like from him to tell us. Then Stefano Di Paola, he's a guy who did some nice tool called Swift Intruder, and he was also actually one of the first guys who really briefly looked into Flash and found some very interesting vulnerabilities. Yeah, and last but not least, Jose Nazario, who provided us with like 3,500 samples of Flash, which were used in attacks. So it was very, very useful for us to have this material, because before we had like 10 or so, and that was really, really nice. So the main idea is how far can we play the obfuscation, deobfuscation game. So why actually we are thinking about it? I mean, like the basic idea was to have a generic way to like looking for something to like carry an exploit and have it in a way that it's hard to detect and it's hard to analyze on one hand, and on the other hand, really looking at how far can it go, like with deobfuscating all the stuff and just understand what's really going on inside the VMs. And also what possibilities are there for filtering Flash at like the perimeter or the clients itself, so that people who need to use, for some reasons, this plugin gets at least some protection, or people who are not using NoScript or other stuff are having this protection as well. So we are focusing a little bit on like lesser known obfuscation techniques, which is basically only available in ActionScript 3. Yeah, and Beth will briefly explain that. As I said, we don't want to talk much about attacks, but these are some generic attacks which where Flash just played a role in one way or another. I mean, like most of the files we saw were really like banner ads, which were used to like simply redirecting the client, and that's it. It's basically like 80% of all or more of all Flash files we have. They are very, very simple in the way they do they're used in an attack. But there's a lot of stuff possible, like for example DOM injections, and like it's really a way to like remote controlling the client. And there are also attacks possible against the VM itself, like Mark described in the paper, and also against the analysis tools. There are a couple of tools which really have problems, like malformed Swift, and yeah. So this is basically the attack surface we have. When you are thinking about having a Flash file, executing something, that's basically that's a like perfect possibility in terms of that means full access to like the DOM and like ejecting everything what you want. Most attacks are much simpler. They don't use that one. They just use like a simple redirect. This external interface call is actually JavaScript either, so that's like full access to the client, and it works on same domain by default. Okay. Yeah, and it's same domain by default means like if you are able to run that code on a client, you have full control over the domain where it's loaded from. And this example can be easily compiled to ActionScript 2 or 3. So one idea of us was there are a couple of like vulnerabilities in ActionScript 2 and 3, or like abilities you would like to use in certain attacks. So we were looking for a way where you can like carrying all types of exploits and using like ActionScript 3 as a loader for it. Why people are actually thinking about obfuscation? There are a couple of like use cases for obfuscating Flash. The simplest one is like developers want to protect their IP, so that now other developers or designers can steal their stuff. So it's not that it's only like used in attacks. The other, or the second use case is like using it in mass exploits, for example through banners or wherever you are able to like present Flash to some users, and the main like people who need to know about Flash being malware or not is like the publisher and content providers and like ad networks who like deploy those stuff. Then there are soft targets. It means like companies or so which don't fully monitor the traffic, for example. So there is a good chance to like crafting an exploit and get it to run, and nobody is really actually able to like able to find out what actually happened. So the people who need to know about this Flash stuff is like administrators and security officers in like companies. And then the hard target, it means like a target which monitors everything, so that you need some sort of side channel to like encrypt the exploit. Yeah, and this is actually something. What we found out is like if you capture all traffic and if you then there's a good chance that you are able to like understand how the attack works. If you don't do the whole network capture, it's basically possible to like crafting exploits that are not really reversible anymore, or not that easy at least. So we just looked at 100,020 flash files. That's like an overview of our versions, like Swift versions and ActionScript versions. These are basically it's like everything which is used in most cases, but the most interesting thing was how much is really like ActionScript 3-based Flash, and it's not that much. But that's actually the interesting part for us to look at, because they are much more interesting thing to do with ActionScript 3 than with ActionScript 2. So Earl Swift has a couple of checks. So we checked like all of these files, and these checks are really, really simple. They check for, what was it, like branch offset, and what else?
Yeah,
so,
we'll go into detail later.
Okay. So the interesting thing is that from the 3,512 known flash files we used or were used in attacks, there were only like 31 were not detected. So it is a quite nice thing with like only 2 checks. But as I said, most of them are really, really simple. So yeah, but you also had a couple of false positives, and there were a couple of we actually have to look at some of those because there were actually some weird errors. Yeah, and now I hand over to Bev, because he is briefly explaining you the file format itself and stuff.
Oh, thank you. So this microphone actually on? Okay. I will now explain to you a little bit about the Swift format itself. Now, in order to understand the analysis which we have done so far, first of all, we have to know the format, which basically is a container format, just like a jar file, for example, you might know, or a zip file, or just any other container format. It contains, well, it starts with a header, with the size of the Flash file, and then a few attributes, then a tag, another tag, and another tag, many other tags, finally an end tag. That's basically it. So each and every tag can contain arbitrary data. For example, a constant pool, you might need constants for some reason, then media, images, they can contain fonts, they could contain audio files, they can contain whichever you like, which mostly be like audio video font thing. And of course, most importantly, actions, which is bytecode as defined by do ABC, which is listed here, a do action. The tags itself contain kind of subtags, which are called actions for do action. Starts with a little header, and then you've got action, another action, which is the actual bytecode. So for ActionScript 3, you've got a completely different set of actions, which is do ABC. It looks totally, well, not too far apart actually, but it's totally different. And we'll go into detail later on. Another example of another tag would be an actual action, which is the get URL thing, which is, well, it's an example. It has a header, a length, URL, target string, so it gathers the data behind the URL. Now, you might wonder, the Flash player actually has not only one virtual machine, but 2 entirely different virtual machines built into it. Start from version